I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite ways to play Pokemon Pocket is playing with no 2-prize Pokemon, no EXs. And this list right here has been my absolute favorite. It is a little more complex than your average Pokemon Pocket deck, so hopefully after this video, you'll feel confident enough to pick it up yourself and run some games with it. Now, taking a look at the deck list here, I made one change after my day of playing from the main deck that's been doing very well. The main deck that's been doing well opts to play 2 Hitmonlee, 1 Giovanni. Now, just based on ladder play, 2 Giovanni has felt great to me. I run into a lot more strange decks than the Gyarados that the second Hitmonlee is there for. So if you're worried about running into a lot of Gyarados, probably play 2 Hitmonlee over 2 Giovanni. It would just be make that matchup go a lot smoother for you. But if you're not worried about that, then play the 1 Hitmonlee and the 2 Giovanni. This is a dual energy deck. One thing I will mention, there are no Pikachu games here. That matchup is very, very simple. I'll explain it to you very, very clearly. Start attaching to Marshadow, get that counterattack ready for when they knock something out with a Pikachu. If they're taking their time and not taking any knockouts, start swinging with the Farfetch'd or a Greninja and just soften things up. Force your opponent to start playing, but don't do so before you have at least 1 fighting energy on a Marshadow or are guaranteeing you're going to have a fighting energy for the Marshadow when it's time for him to attack. It's a super, super simple matchup. And against the fire decks, I have found that the Farfetch'd is a bit of a weak attacker against Moltres. It will do, you usually get 2 attacks off, but then they will come in and they'll be able to use their 70 attack, knock out the Marshadow, and you'll probably have to revenge kill it with the Marshadow. Waste that big attack on a Moltres with 60 HP. No good. It's a lot better to be using Hitmonlee to snipe around the Moltres, start damaging their Charmanders or their Arcanines, whatever. So then when that Pokemon finally comes up, you're able to Marshadow revenge KO it. If you guys are enjoying the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about these matchup guide style videos. Hoping to just give you guys a bit of a better time when playing your decks. Also, shout out to Undead. I'm going to link his channel in the description. He played games with me, helped me get this footage. So if you want to go see some really in-depth guides on the main meta decks, go check out his channel. He just did one with Mewtwo, and it is super, super well done. If you've been wanting to play Mewtwo, or if you just want to improve your Mewtwo play, seriously, go watch the video. It's fantastic. Okay, so here we are against Gyarados, and we're going second with not a bad start. Well, okay, now the start isn't going to matter as much, but we would have had Sabrina into Magikarp if it was just a Magikarp on the bench. But we do have Fighting Energy queued and a Research plus a Pokeball, so hopefully we'll be able to get into that Hitmonlee. There's another Research. So what I might do here is, if we are not... Well, we find 2 basics off of that. It is just so important to get into that Hitmonlee as soon as possible. There's a Froakie. So we weren't able to find it for the first turn. But swinging with Farfetch'd into Druddigon is not really what you care to be doing. All you want to be doing in this matchup is using Hitmonlee to bully that benched Gyarados. That's the dream. Because as soon as it becomes Gyarados, you're going to need to do at least 60 damage to it, so your Marshadow can knock it out the next turn. And sometimes you can just get there by your opponent. We have another Fighting Energy queued, so if we can find that Hitmonlee, we'll be good. There's another Pokeball and a Giovanni. So let's go evolve into Frogadier. Again, I still don't really care about swinging into this Druddigon. And now we have the potential for either Greninja off the top or Hitmonlee. Something that's going to let us start attacking and getting damage onto that Gyarados. We get no heads on the Misties. That's very good for us, because we're still a couple turns from that Gyarados becoming a problem. Again, I wasn't playing the Pokeball in order to improve my top deck outs, but now I'm just going to rip it. Hope for a Hitmonlee. It's a Farfetch'd. Okay, useless. Useless to us. Totally and utterly useless. So from here, we can just go Sure Up a Prize and figure the rest out as we go. Because we know we're probably not getting attacked by Gyarados this turn. Now, this Greninja damage doesn't ever really matter. All it prevents our opponent from getting is a second attacker into the mix. Like, right now, he's just stuck on Gyarados. It's the only thing he can attack with. But we're able to go Greninja here and swing. And now, pending any Misties for 1 energy, I think we'll still be okay. We'll be able to retreat this Greninja out of here and start building up that damage with our Water Shuriken. There's another Druddigon. Not really a problem for us. Attachment to Gyarados. Okay, so things are looking pretty decent here. There's the Hitmonlee finally. So let's just go Water Shuriken here. We're going to put him down to 160. And with Hitmonlee, we're going to put him down to 130. So if that Gyarados wants to come in next turn, we have the Marshadow counterattack. The only way this goes bad for us is if Gyarados is able to discard energy from Marshadow twice. But other than that, we have the perfect damage here to take care of it. This matchup goes fine as long as you can either get into that Hitmonlee quick or your opponent is a little bit slow with their Misties. Even just 1 turn of Misty's acceleration can be pretty detrimental for you. But if it's not the case, you'll be okay. Let's see where the energy gets discarded. We lose it from Greninja. That's fine. Now we're just able to counterattack with the Marshadow. So that's where the Hitmonlee, it's not always needed on the very first turn, and it's tough to expect to get the Hitmonlee off before it becomes Gyarados. This is usually what your games are going to look like, besides pure luck, is you're going to need that Hitmonlee to soften up the Gyarados while it's a Gyarados. The reason why is it's hard to guarantee that you're going to see a fighting energy on your first turn and the Hitmonlee. It's why I prefer to run just 1 Hitmonlee, because as long as we can find him at some point before that Gyarados becomes an active threat, we can get the damage we need that way. So yeah, that's how Gyarados goes. It's an okay matchup. It's definitely a little bit scary. Obviously, if they high roll, if they do Gyarados things and high roll against you, not really a whole lot you can do, but you just need to be mindful. You need to soften that Gyarados up before something terrible happens to you. So always work on using that Hitmonlee, weaving it in when you can to deal that extra damage to Gyarados and get it in range of Greninja Ping plus Marshadow attack. Okay, here we are against Celebi. Now, one thing I'll get out of the way is Hitmonlee. Maybe the most irrelevant Pokemon you can be using in this matchup. Hitmonlee is not going to do enough damage to any of the Pokemon on the bench. You're not going to be able to double stretch kick a Snivy to knock it out. They're also playing potions and Ericas and every single way you can imagine to get around your Hitmonlee damage ever really mattering. It's often just a total waste of energy, commitment, and time. What you more so want to be doing is using, again, that Farfetch'd to soften up the Celebi, force out the potions, whatever. And you always have that opportunity to get a knockout with Marshadow plus Greninja Ping plus Giovanni. Our opponent gets 2. He's going to flip there. He's going to get nothing. It's okay for us. Doesn't change a whole lot in my eyes because we are sort of drawing blank here. We can Pokeball. If it finds us a Froakie, that's cool, but we need more basics to stop us. Well, we find Farfetch'd. So at this point, it is going to be a X-Speed into Farfetch'd. Now, if my opponent wasn't holding any Ericas or anything like that, pinging the Snivy would have been good, because we would have actually been able to knock it out if we had known we were going to draw our cards in that order. But obviously, there's no way to tell when that's going to happen. It's also just good to get the Celebi out of here, because it is the threat. It has no potions or Ericas. So in this random case, it would have been fine. Hitmonlee would have actually been relevant, but usually it's just not the case. But here's the Farfetch'd coming in, doing the damage we needed. You force your opponent to either use Ericas or be in danger of getting knocked out to a Marshadow follow-up plus Giovanni if they only use 1 potion. Just very, very good to be swinging into the Celebi early with the Farfetch'd. Another reason why we play 2 Giovanni is in this matchup, if they're playing still no Greninja, it's a little bit insane. or no Froakie. If they're playing the Exeggutor, you need that Giovanni to be able to, like, turn one, go Farfetch, Giovanni, knock out the Execute before it becomes an Exeggutor. Once it becomes an Exeggutor, this matchup swings so terribly in your favor, or against your favor. It's really brutal. It's really brutal. This deck is not designed to get through an Exeggutor. And there's, speak of the devil, there he is. This is still, you could still lose the game like this. It is just a very tough Pokemon to deal with for this deck. There's Froakie, though. So let's go. We just honestly, I know the Snivy's right here, but we sort of, if he goes Erica's on the Snivy or evolves it into Superior, there's not really going to be a way through for us. And he's already taken one prize. So if we Sabrina this up and do 40 to it, next turn we could do 120 or 100, which still isn't enough for a knockout. So it actually might just have to be swing into Snivy and hope next turn we can Sabrina it up. Yeah, I think that's probably our best play. Is let's go Giovanni to get that extra damage on there. And we'll Revenge. And we're gonna hope if he has Exeggutor, he at least doesn't have another big EX to put down. There's a Pokeball, so it might find him that other Celebi he's looking for to prevent this Sabrina play from getting us ahead. It's just so hard to deal with Exeggutor EX. It's so difficult, and right there we had no chance to do so. Erica's on the Snivy, sure. It's about what I was expecting. I was expecting the Ericas to go on to the Exeggutor as well. But, alright, so we got it here. Well, if we don't get knocked out... Oh, okay. It remains interesting. So now... he's used an Erica's. We could still get this KO next turn. If he doesn't have Potion or anything. We could also just go for the Sabrina on Snivy again. But now we don't have an energy to swing with Hitmonlee. So what is... we don't have a way to bring up that Snivy once again. Well, we can still just hope for the Sabrina play on it. If not, maybe we can dodge some potions and let the Giovanni play be enough. There's another Execute. All right, that's good for us too. That's another Sabrina target. Yet another Sabrina target. And if he just swings here, it's just GG. Okay. So it's GG's no matter what. We had it a few different ways. That early Exeggutor is what's going to be the biggest problem. An early Celebi, you can deal with just fine. An early Exeggutor, things can get very bad. If they flip enough heads as well, it's going to just be able to knock you out pretty convincingly. But we're able to just go Greninja plus Revenge here. A little bit of a tricky one to figure out there, but luckily we ended up playing it right, just saving that Sabrina. Because if he had a potion here, we would have needed the Sabrina to win. But we just get to Revenge and knock out this Exeggutor. Very tricky matchup depending on how your opponent starts. And if you're not able to just totally counter their start outright. But you do have that option with the Farfetch'd plus Giovanni to do so. Okay, we are going second against Mewtwo, which is exactly what you want. Going first in this matchup is very tough. It's a tough matchup if you're going first because your opponent is able to pull off some early Giovanni plays potentially, which will just set your energy back too far. I'll explain more as we go. But what you want to be doing in this matchup is getting into that Farfetch early to start putting down that 40 damage over and over. It'll just fix your Marshadow math when you're finally looking to swing into that Mewtwo. Now, because we have 2 research in hand, I'll play 1 Pokeball, see what it finds us. A second Froakie. Okay, I'm not playing that second Pokeball. I'm using research, hoping to find more basics. We get the Farfetch, and we get the Marshadow. Okay, so now we can play this Pokeball and find us whatever else. It doesn't matter. This is just thinning at this point. Well, actually, if he is going to leave... If he's going to leave that Mewtwo on the bench, it's not bad to go in with the Hitmonlee and start doing the damage that way. It's not a bad option at all. It will just let you put that 30 damage that's needed down, because 120 is the number you want to reach. You want to be able to knock out that Mewtwo with a Marshadow attack plus a Greninja ping. That's really the dream. So he's just going to leave it on the bench. So let's go Professor's Research, hoping for an X speed here. There's a Frogadier and a Greninja. Okay. So in that case, let's bench second Froakie. And I hate losing this energy here for Hitmonlee, because now we're also dependent on the game being nice to us and giving us another fighting. But we can start stretch kicking this Mewtwo. And I like this because it means that we don't have a way of getting knocked out this turn. Our opponent's gonna have to Leaf plus Giovanni, which he just can't do in order to knock out this Hitmonlee. So I know I'm getting another attachment in here. And I get to go into Greninja next turn. He could totally have Gardevoir and put the 50... Yeah, and attack us, hit us for 70. That's fine. I'm going to be able to get pretty close with Greninja to knock out this Mewtwo. Again, I'm really just going to hope that a Fighting Energy is queued up for our next energy. Let's see. Yes, we do. We do get it. Okay. So this is fine now. So now we just put our Water Energy down on Marshadow. And we can Water Shuriken this guy. And maybe our Water Shuriken damage is better somewhere else next turn. But we'll just go Stretch Kick onto the Gardevoir. Keep weakening it up. It's not really going to matter too much. It might result in us being able to pull off some sort of Sabrina play at the end of the game. But that would be dependent on him finding, like, no more basics. Or getting some really weird basics. What is sad is our opponent's going to be able to preserve the energy onto the Mewtwo. If he... Well, he's not going to need to attach to the Mewtwo or anything. Like, he knows the Mewtwo is getting knocked out next turn. There's not a whole lot he can do about it. What would be fantastic is finding second Greninja here. Second Greninja would be pretty big. We know we're going to get this Mewtwo knockout, which is great. And then we just need to work our way through one more Pokemon. And we're going to have Sabrina to sure up a knockout on most of these bench guys. So let's just focus on getting through the Mewtwo right now. We send up Marshadow. And we're going to be able to Revenge, knock it out. He's not totally useful. So what I'm going to start doing here is Gardevoir's in range, Jinx is in range. The only thing that isn't in range is this Ralts. That Ralts is my only issue right now. We can go Revenge. And knock out this Mewtwo, which is great. And we're in a decent spot. Our opponent's going to be able to come up and knock us out with probably the Jinx, yep. But the Jinx means that there's not a bench Mewtwo getting energy attached to it. And that's pretty good, because look at, now we have a very Jinx-proofed bench right now. Not a whole lot to worry from it. It is going to get scary if... And this is why we're putting the damage on that Kirlia there. Because if it gets into a second Gardevoir, we're going to need a way to knock it out with a Sabrina. But right now, our game plan is just going to be hope for that Sabrina. I've played both Research, so I only have one left in deck. I only have 2 turns to find it before I just lose to Mewtwo. But it's doable. Second Greninja. Second Greninja is interesting. Let's see here. Let me do the math in my head. I can do 40 onto... Well, no matter what, this damage is just... Oh, wait. No, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I can't. I don't have X speed to knock out this Jinx. So for right now, this damage is going to have to go onto the Mewtwo. And I think we are going to have the math to get it done if Mewtwo comes in. Let's attach to this Greninja. Bench Farfetch'd. Let our opponent know that if this Jinx stays in the active spot next turn, it goes down. But we're going to be able to do 40 to the Mewtwo. Giovanni, hit him for 70, knock him out. We'll just pass turn like this. But we have a very Sabrina-proof bench at the moment. Have I played any X-Speed? I have not played any X-Speed. There's the Sabrina, though. So, exactly what I was... While I have a Sabrina-proof bench, this will be able to buy my opponent a turn if I do not just top deck my own X-Speed. And our opponent actually is playing X-Speed. That's kind of crazy. But without our own X-Speed, which we have somehow avoided this entire game, we are going to end up losing this one. Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. I'm now looking at it. I could have just done 40 to the Gardevoir twice, or 40 to the Jinx twice. I know he isn't playing Potion. Hopefully we get an X-Speed to bail us out. That was a big miscalculation on my part. We could have just put those anywhere, but we get the X-Speed. Okay, let's pretend we had X-Speed in hand and you didn't see that. Dumb line, dumb line. I got too wrapped up and I have to take out the Mewtwo. I totally could have just double Water Shuriken the bench, and that would have been the game. But this is way cooler. This is way cooler, right? Look at, we get the damage. This is way cooler. So yeah, if you ever find yourself getting into double Greninja, definitely just use it to knock out both of these. Either of those two would have been fine. You lose to the same play, which is just Potion. But I gave my opponent an out there to win. An otherwise unlosable game. So luckily we still got there. Got a little bit flustered when I saw that I couldn't get into the Farfetch'd to instantly win the game. I started to backpedal and go into, oh no, we need to make sure we don't lose. But no, we had victory on board the entire time as soon as we got that second Greninja. So that's a little bit of how the Mewtwo goes. Fine matchup if you go second. If you go first, it's definitely more difficult, but it's still doable.